Right guys, you watch me do what I do every single morning, and that's just have egg on toast. I have absolutely fucked the fuck out of the... Oh, that's why you need oil or fry light. I forgot to buy it. But the time here now is it's 10:30 in the morning. I don't always have breakfast this late, but I just decided to train fastest this morning. I don't know if I said today was Sunday. I'm actually moving my week back by one day, just because I like to be kind of nice and prepared for the week. And as our team continues to grow, we've got like more staff members and stuff like that. I have to recognize that I need to be the most organized out of the team. If I'm the least organized or the middle organized, then everyone's fucked. So you're going to see a little bit behind the scenes of like how we plan our week, how I plan the week of like all of our team and stuff like that. And then we're meeting up with Joe Marcoux. Very, very, very excited to meet up with Joe. He's someone that I really look up to. We're in kind of like the sales space. Very, very smart dude. Never met him or spoke to him in person, but he's flown all the way from Florida to Dubai, I believe, which anyone who's ever done that flight, I think it's like a 15, 16-hour flight, may still be a little bit jet lagged, but yeah, incredible opportunity to meet him. So I'm going to chow this down. I'll show you behind the scenes of like how we plan our week, and yeah, should be a good vlog. What's that? Oh, that's the watermelon that I literally just absolutely annihilated before you arrived. I fucking love fruit, bro. Like, I've got such a sweet tooth, but the more I get into like health of like, when I say health, I mean like not just calories, I'm talking like everything. But the deeper I go into business, weirdly, the more I'm trying to like optimize everything. So literally like spinach, kale, eggs, egg whites, raspberries, and watermelon. Like, fuck it. I want as many nutrients in my body as I can get, you know? Oh yeah, that's an abomination. I literally just ate like half a fucking watermelon there.
Do you find any difference between like the fruits and vegetables here versus in the UK?
Now, that's a great question. There are some fruits here that I feel like are way, way better.
Yeah.
I think in England, it's very, very based on like the time of the year. So for example, Spanish strawberries and English strawberries, peak summertime, I generally don't think you can beat them. Like, they're absolutely amazing. Or like just berries in general, like raspberries and blueberries and stuff. The berries out here are way, like I'd say they're genuinely triple the price of what they are in the UK. But in terms of like the tropical fruits, like your mangoes and your pineapples and stuff like that, way better here, way better here. I think like if I could literally only eat the fruits that are native to the country, I would. But at the same time, I like to get lots of different like colors in. So to answer your question, I think better in England are apples, strawberries in the summer. And then to be fair, I think the vegetables in England generally just slap because UK farming is like huge.
Yeah.
But I think the fruit as a whole here is probably better. What I would say is the quality of food at like restaurants here as a whole is probably better as well in Venice. I think in England, like you do get some good restaurants, but there's a bigger emphasis on service out here. And I think because there's a bigger emphasis on service, everyone wants to give you like a really nice experience, and the food tends to be a little bit better. Unless you go to somewhere that's like very expensive in England, and you got like some prestigious places like, I don't know if you've heard of like the Savoy. The Savoy's incredible. I took my mum and brother there for her birthday a few weeks ago. That's insane. And there are some other like decent spots in the UK as well, which I'm sure at some point I'll show you guys. But I'd say food as a whole here, from what I've experienced, seems better, but just maybe a bit more expensive. Right, if we weren't meeting Joe, I'd wash that up right now. So anyone who's judging me for not washing up, I would usually do that.
I hate washing, man.
You know what?
I never do it. I always keep it till the next week for the cleaning lady to clean it up.
Bro, you know what it is? I actually, genuinely, this is going to sound weird. I find cleaning and tidying and sort of stuff out really therapeutic, but anything to do with clothes, like washing and ironing clothes, I fucking hate it. I absolutely despise it. But if it's like, I don't know, like tidying up the desk or whatever, I don't mind, but yeah. Right, boom. So, first thing I tend to do is when I'm planning my week is I need to open up my calendar. Now, you're going to look at this calendar right now and be like, why the fuck is it so empty? The reason it's empty is because I just simply need to populate it. So you'll see in here that I have a deep work block every single morning, right? And again, you're probably expecting this to be way more packed out than it is, but I mean, a lot of our calls are kind of like taken over Wednesday. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually need to move that into there. That'll be 5. There we go. But yeah, this deep work block, what I will do, and this is really important, is every single evening without fail, and when I say evening, I don't mean 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that's too late. For me, if you're planning out your following day, if you're planning it right before bed or first thing in the morning, it's already too late. So, I mean, today I'll most likely sit down, well, I mean, I can do this now, but I would most likely sit down at like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., around about that point. I'll actually schedule that into my diary, as you can see. That's supposed to be, oh, bro, this is fucked up. It's fucked because we're still on the buy time, so it's trying to push my wrap up day a little bit later. Yeah, so what I'll tend to do is I'll have it in my diary between kind of like 5:30 and 5:45, 6 p.m. It'll just say brain dump and wrap up the day. And all I'll do is I'll kind of reflect on the day. All of my staff members will send me like an end of day report. So an end of day report is basically like their key metrics and the things that are most important for them. So, you know, if it's going to be like the lead generation team, they'll kind of let me know like, right, here are the people that we've engaged with. Here are some warm leads. Here are some people that are looking to booking calls. You may want to jump in and have a look at this. You know, this is where people are in our pipeline. And then all that I then need to do is I'll go to our kind of, I won't show you that because it will show people's emails and stuff like that. But there's a system that we use, which is like our client relationship management tool. And on the client relationship management tool, we'll be able to see if anyone's downloaded like a guide or watched a certain video or completed a certain training, then we can track where they are within that kind of nurturing sequence. So to cut a long story short, at the end of my day, if I'm doing a wrap up, I can click on there and be like, okay, brilliant. So we've got, you know, 3 potential clients here. One of them has just actually downloaded this specific guide. So I may even jump in and send them a voice note and like the following morning, for example, and see how they've been finding the guide, see if they need, you know, walking through it. And the way that we do things is if we wanted this to be very much orientated towards let's make as many sales as possible, I probably wouldn't do that. Our big thing and our ethos at Coach's Corner is we want to shift the coaching industry, and we really, really, really value building relationships with people. And that's why, and I've been told off for this in the past, but it's just my style of doing things. That's why I'll tend to be a lot more hands-on with, you know, potential customers, potential clients or new clients, because I personally believe like the top of my kind of priority list in terms of values is actually, you know, fostering great relationships with people. So I'm more than happy to put in more than the average maybe, you know, a mentor or business coach would do, because I want to have that one-to-one with them. But anyway, that gives me the opportunity to do that. And then what I'll do is in that kind of wrap up part, then the deep work block will be populated. So as an example, right now, if I go to my Google documents, we've recently just run a launch, and the launch we ran was called Coach's Corner Boost. Coach's Corner Boost was actually, it landed really, really nicely. So it was designed for coaches who were under about 3K per month from their online coaching business. So typically that's going to be kind of like under the 20 client mark. They wanted to build a little bit more experience. They wanted to build a little bit more expertise, and they needed a program that wasn't going to like break the bank. So we put together all of our curriculums. We put together our entire course. We still gave all of these clients access to our 3 weekly calls that we do, and still gave them access to me, but we just kind of remove such a little bit of like the consultancy element of what I do, because I tend to, you know, do kind of one-to-one business check-ins with clients and WhatsApp them and this kind of stuff. So we just remove that element. They still get all the other support around it. And because that was so popular, and because we know it's in such high demand, we actually increased the size of our business by, well, if you want to be exact, it was by 23% over the space of 6 days, which is fucking crazy. Now, because of that, right now, all that we're now going through is a little bit more of like a nurturing sequence. Now, what a nurturing sequence means is, and I'm sure we'll talk about this with Joe in person, I think that a lot of business owners get far too caught up with sell, money, calls, and just trying to get as many clients through the door as possible. If you want to forge great relationships and build kind of know, like, and trust, which is so important, you want to have what's called a nurturing process. So essentially what I'll now be doing is working through these kind of documents that we've got here. Myself and the team all have a kind of map out of this of our plans for 2024. So as an example, if I was to look at this from a whole, we can pretty much see January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, like every single thing that we're going to be running in terms of like our own marketing. Now, with that being said, because obviously we're now sat in November, and it's, well, today's date is November the 17th. We'll probably release this like back end of the month or like start of next month or something. But our December is all focused around community. So whether that be our own community or the free community that we run, you know, we're going to be planning out like some free webinars for those guys to kind of give them some value, and basically just be top of mind for January. Typically we find that, well, this is just something that we've tracked over the last kind of 8 years. We actually have a lot of coaches that invest in their businesses around October, November time, kind of getting ready for the new year. And then we actually, interestingly enough, we find that more experienced, more well-versed, more wealthy and busier coaches tend to invest in the last kind of 2 to 3 months of the year because they understand that they need to plan for next year. Newer coaches that haven't learned that yet tend to invest more into themselves in January. So because we understand that and we know our buyer psychology and obviously we understand like the kind of market sophistication, all that we're really doing is, providing as much value as possible for those newer guys throughout the whole of December, so that when January comes around, they're kind of like ready to purchase from us. We're going to be the go-to guys. So that's what we'll be doing. And then what I'll be doing is, so this is something that we won't go through all of this because we'd be here for a very long time if we did. But one thing that I like my team to be waking up with on a Monday morning is like their own roadmap of exactly what they're going to be doing. So Alice is an absolute ninja. She's actually my personal assistant. She's literally my second brain. If it wasn't for Alice, I'd be fucked. So what I'll be sending across to Alice is I'll be taking inspiration from her 8-player agreement. And I'm more than happy to, if I can find this, 8-player agreement. More than happy to give you guys like a little bit of an understanding of what an 8-player agreement is. And this is something that she signed when she's kind of on board with us. So she has daily, weekly, and monthly metrics that she's aiming for. A piece of advice for anyone who's thinking about hiring one day or has already hired: all of your staff must have numbers. What I mean by numbers is they should be able to wake up in the morning and be like, right, my number for emails, my numbers for emails are this, my numbers for lead generation are this. For example, for Matt, he's our client success manager. He knows that he has a particular amount of messages and a particular amount of people. And he also has like a system where he can look at all of our clients from like a bird's eye view and know who's doing what. So if I was to kind of sidestep Alice for a second and talk about Matt, one of Matt's key roles will be myself and Matt collaborate together to manage where our client's progress is at. So what we'll do is we'll be able to log on like a Monday morning, look at our Google Sheet, look at all of our clients and say, right, we're going to look at the sentence that summarized their week last week. Were they green? Were they amber? Were they red? Green is like they're flying. Amber is, they're doing all right. And red is like they're fucking struggling. And we can look at that and we can go straight to the reds and be like, right, let's either book in a call, let's make sure that they've got their check-in, let's make sure that they've got accountability, let's give them a nudge, like let's give them exactly what they need at the first thing on a Monday morning so that they can get off the week to a good start. Anyone who's an amber will tend to do quite a similar thing. And then for our greens, what we'll do is we'll almost write like a bit of a side note and say to ourselves, like, okay, they're at a green right now, but what potential hurdles may lay further on down the line for those guys? Because obviously we all know that businesses kind of fluctuate up and down. So we'll tend to kind of tackle the clients who are struggling. We'll then kind of titrate. And then as we come to the back end of the week with the kind of touch points and with the messages and calls, we'll then kind of be addressing that. So anyway, yeah. So what I'll do is on a Sunday, I'll map out with the daily tasks that Alice has. I'll elaborate on that. So there may be something a little bit different. So, if we're running a launch, then she might have to, mock up some Canva stuff or, edit some things back end or, potentially if we're running a launch, she may have to, inform me of how many people or how many potential leads we have at a particular point in the pipeline. And if I need to reach out or if I need to book a call or if Angelique, who will be working within my Instagram would need to do the same thing. And it just means, like I say, that they've got that kind of almost like document, they've got that Bible first thing in the morning. Then what we'll tend to do is kind of throughout the week, make sure that we're jumping on team calls and one-to-one calls so they know exactly what they're going to be doing. What we are going to be doing later on down the line is where eventually we're going to be working with like more of a kind of larger scale sales team that will mean that I'll be doing some sales and they'll do some sales. We'll most likely do a call with those guys every single day because, the quickest way to build your business in terms of like actual revenue is produce more sales, right? Lead generation into a sale, and then they jump on board, and then that's when they can actually enjoy the experience of work with you. So as of right now, I do all of my calls. Everybody talks to me, and in a way, that's kind of like our USP. Our USP is that you get me one-to-one. You get the systems, you get the training, you get the accountability, you get the check-ins, you get the calls, the whole shebang. So because of that, I want to head up the calls. That does mean that I have to work some extra hours, but I fucking love the shit. It doesn't feel like work to me. So if that needs to happen, that needs to happen. And then finally, guys, to wrap up this kind of element of the clip, there are actually a list of questions that I tend to kind of ask myself every single week if I can find the document in here. And this is actually something that we've begun to phase out for our CEO clients because it's been working phenomenally well. So more than happy to read them out if it would provide you guys with some value. I was actually going to do this as a lead magnet, but I'm just going to give it to you free because I'm an absolute geezer. Right, so weekly accountability questions. You might want to grab pen and paper and write these down. So number 1, rate last week on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 being amazing. So me and my staff do this. So 1 to 10, how did your last week go? Number 2, what was your biggest priority last week? If you don't know the answer to that, then that just shows you've just not really planned the last week that well. So it will help you plan forward. So what was your biggest priority? Number 3, did you accomplish the big priority? And if you didn't, like, why not? That holds you accountable, you know? When I first started doing this, I realized that things were good, but they weren't great. So it's really helped. Number 4, what did you learn last week? I actually, there's a journal next to my bed over there, actually. I write that into my journal every single night. What did I learn today? There's 2 things I write in there every single night without fail. What did I learn today? And who made a difference? The reason I write in there who made a difference, I'm a people person. I love people. I'm an extrovert. I like talking to people. I like being around people. And for me, if I can articulate clearly who made a difference, that just helps me be, helps with like gratitude, you know, for life. So that's been a great question. So what did you learn? Number 5 is, what was your biggest business highlight last week? I think it's easy to be like, oh my God, I lost 3 clients. But it's like, well, yeah, but did you fix that thing you've been trying to fix for a long period of time and it progressed you forward? Maybe. Number 6, what was your biggest obstacle? No matter how good the week is, there's always going to be stuff. Number 7, what do you need to solve it? This is a question that I think is so simple, but it's so impactful, because if you can clearly write down every single week on a Sunday, right, this was the obstacle I'm facing and this is what I need to solve it, I could honestly say that probably, I'll be realistic, I'd say 80% of the time you know the answer to the question you're asking. It's just that you've not sat in silence long enough and used the 4 walls, as they say, aka your brain, to figure it out. And I think that actually silence, for me personally, has been a mixture of silence and accountability from someone who's smarter than you are, has probably been like the 2 things that have allowed me to progress most when facing a challenge. Number 8 is, what was your biggest personal highlight last week? So this for me, I don't want this to be anything to do with your business, just you personally, like, what was the biggest personal highlight? Number 9, what are the 2, this is the big one, this helps me plan for my whole team. What are the 2 to 3 big priorities that need to happen this week to make it a success? And then that way you can identify your own metrics to success. You know, I said this to a client the other day. In a way, because I obviously deliver business coaching, sometimes I wish that I didn't have to share people's incomes, like genuinely, which may surprise a lot of people. The reason I wish that is because there's so many more successes that happen behind the scenes that aren't as sexy, because sex sells, money sells, you know, people are interested in that stuff. But, you know, we had a client who moved into a new place, you know, got a mortgage on there. We had a client buy a car, you know, we had a client gain back 5 hours a week spent with her daughter, which for me was like one of the greatest wins I think I've ever heard. We had another client who was able to, you know, fly their mum and their dad out to Marbella and spend a week with them. These are just incredible things. So that number 9, the priorities need to happen to make it a success, allows you to start to identify what you deem as a success, you know? Like, for example, me last week, what I deemed for a success is I wanted to ensure that I connected with as many people as I could, and I did that. So that was a great week for me. And then finally, number 10 is, what do you need help with and who do you need to contact? I'm going to say that again because this is not a question I've heard very often. What do you need help with and who do you need to contact? Why am I saying this? I think most coaches who start to achieve success, and I did this, and this is why I'm saying this, start to develop an ego. And they think it's confidence, but it's not, it's an ego. The reason it's not, it's almost like false confidence, is because you start to get to a point being like, well, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, clearly I don't need any help. Complete transparency for me, right? I've been running a multi-6-figure business for a few years now. I honestly think I'll always have a mentor that I work with on a one-to-one basis. I genuinely do. And my mentor, just to give you some context, not to be like it's all about money, but in terms of like how successful he is. So he's running like a multi-8-figure business. So the guy is fucking smart. And he has his own mentor, you know? So realistically for me right now, I turn 30 next year. My mentor's in his 40s and his mentor's in his 60s. And I'm not saying that you have to like hire someone off of age, but what I am saying is that if you want to continue to grow, and actually Jack said this in our podcast, he will always be investing ahead of him and he'll always be like learning from other people. Like there are a lot of skills that I still want to learn. A great example of that is this year, again, complete transparency because I want to get raw on these, you know, working with a new therapist over this year, and then also working with someone completely separately who's like more of like a kind of mindset, kind of lifestyle coach that's allowed me to dig a few extra layers deeper. And I think that those things are stuff that I would have brushed under the carpet and completely ignored, but it's allowed me to become like a much more well-rounded person. And I think that if you want to become the best business owner, the best coach you possibly can, a big element of that starts with being the most rounded person that you can possibly become. That means mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, the whole shebang, you know. But yeah, that guy's pretty much wraps up like the kind of snapshot. So to break it down again, I ask myself those 10 questions, and so do my teams. That's the first thing I'll do. The second thing that I'll do is I'll populate my diary, which we haven't done live on here, but I'll populate it all with like calls and training and that kind of stuff. But I tend to have like rocks in there that don't move. Every night before bed, I'll write out what the deep work is going to be, and I'll let my team know that. And then also what I'll do is I'll kind of write out a bit of a Google document and tell my team exactly what I expect them to do. When I go gym, it's like 15 minutes of gym or whatever, and I can clear like half of my messages. This is what I mean about, like, for me personally, building relationships with others, right? We've been chatting back and forth for maybe 2 months, and he runs a business whereby they coach like newer personal trainers and stuff like that to expand their kind of knowledge of actual delivering coaching, which is how we started, and then we kind of developed more into kind of business coaching. Anyway, we've been jumping back and forth. I've been sending voice notes, he's been sending voice notes, just building a relationship. When we launched our program, our business grew by 23% in 6 days, which is just mental to say out loud. I'm just booked in a call with him for Monday for 6 a.m. So obviously I can get that in my diary now, but that's 6 a.m. his time, so what's that? 7, 8, 9, 10, which gives me enough time to train, which is perfect. But he wants to refer us 20 clients. And there's no way someone like that would refer us 20 clients if I just gone, right, let's just pass that to someone whose job it is to set calls and let's get a call booked in. Like I recognised there was something in this guy. He seemed like a really top bloke, and I wanted to build a proper relationship with him. So I think for those of you who are looking at like scale your business, a lot of advice will be systemize everything, AI everything, ManyChat everything, get as many staff in as possible. Sometimes that's valid, but often you just need to be the owner of the business and take some responsibility and actually get chatting to people yourself. So that could be an amazing opportunity if we had 20 clients sign up in one call. So yeah, another reason to get in fucking Ubers.
Lewinsky, we're in Dubai, and if you look behind us, it's Tim Hortons of all places here in Dubai. So just to clarify, you can't take the Canadian out of Canada. Well, actually, you can't. You can go to Dubai and still get a maple glazed donut.
You can literally get everything here as well. Yeah.
Live in the UK?
That's a great question. I want to say 6 to 7 million.
I mean, it's a big number.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they take a 10% or a 20% portion of that are against it,
Yeah.
you know, how do you win them over?
You know, it's interesting. From someone who's lived there my whole life, I would honestly say, you say 10 or 20%, I would say nowadays it's close to 30. There are a lot of people that aren't bad, you know?
Yeah.
And so much so that I think from when I was a kid to now, I don't know if this is shifts in values or just the way that kind of life is headed, but if you also looked at England from like a religion perspective, I don't know, even though England is a Christian country, I don't know that many Christians. I really don't. I think that we've become quite a atheist country. I was talking to Michael about this the other day. You know, he said, like, what religion is the UK? And I said, well, if you go to London, it's unbelievably multicultural.
Right.
You know?
Canada's the same.
Yeah. But in terms of like churches and things, we've got lots of churches, but they're never busy. They're never busy.
Interesting. Things have changed. There's no question. In the last 80 years.
Okay, so here's the question for you then. So what would you say, let's say if we were looking at, say, a low ticket sale, which would be a group program that would be maybe like a few £100s, compared to say like a high ticket program that may be like a few £1,000s a month or whatever it may be. What would you say would be like the primary differences between the positioning of that? I mean, would you only do high ticket sales on a one-to-one basis, or would you also do that to a group?
So there's nothing stopping you doing group for a high ticket.
Yeah.
The question is, what are you delivering in terms of the end result is what people want.
Yeah.
They do want community.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
If you want to do ultra high ticket, so then you have we have a system set up in everything's group.
Yeah.
Diamond, platinum, gold package.
Yeah.
And then if for whatever reason people aren't interested or they're in a position where they can't do it because they're interested,
Yeah.
otherwise you wouldn't have the conversation. And in some cases, some people, they're just not in a position to be able to go into the gold program, which is our 3 options that we provide first. Go. Then I'll show a silver program, which is still the ability to do things live. And then finally, there's the absolute entry level. We have a bronze program, and then we also have, you know what? We've got things that are just available on video. I mean, what I don't want to do is I don't want to confuse people.
Yeah.
So, and I also don't want to just give them one option, because if you only give people one option, no becomes an option. Because so this is my program, yes or no. It's like, well, based on what we're seeing here, which option suits you best?
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting you say that, because I'm a big advocate of this or that close. But I've done one group sale a few weeks ago, and I didn't create a this or that close. And although we had 9 people join the board, which I thought was great,
Yeah,
I almost expected, I was like, right, I'm really happy with that. But I got to the end and I found myself almost sat in like this silence. I thought, if it would have been a this or that, it would have then allowed the opportunity for anyone who wanted to go for the highest tiered package to jump in, And it's really interesting, because I found that a lot of coaches who we work with, because we help them with their sales,
right.
I'll often have a client say something like, oh, well, no one would ever pay £200 to coach me. And they have this huge limiting belief around, what their 5 point is, whatever it really, and realistically, we know that they would.
Yeah.
So I
A
guess,
lot of people would say that.
Yeah. So I guess, but the guys that just, lack the confidence and lack the conviction, which we both know is going to be the thing that's going to sell their program. What action steps would you take to build that confidence and conviction within their pitch and within their program?
What we do is repetition.
Yeah.
It's live, interactive training. So what's the unique mechanism that we offer? Live IT. You get to live it and do it over and over, and with immediate course correction. So it's like, hey, stop, do it again. Like what a lot of people do, they'll record their call, then they have to audit themselves or get somebody else to audit, and then get the time that it takes to be able to, instead of live, and we do it in a group setting, and then it's intimate groups, so it's not like a 60-person call. It's generally 9.
Okay.
So we have multiple dojos, just like going into a gym class. You pick your class time that you do, and what we want to focus on is the minimum effective dosage. You don't have to go and get coached every day.
Yeah.
Come and do the work. We'll see you next week. And then, you're right?
Yeah, no, I love that. That makes so much sense. So it's almost a case of like, you'll have 9 people on the call. Would you have one person selling to another person on that call, and you're all assessing and watching what they're doing, and almost like to be like, whoa, let's just slow down a minute.
Right.
It's a language they use.
And we're doing pieces of the conversation. So, okay, we're just going to work on rapport building this week, or we're just going to work on your discovery process, and then we'll also have people work on, as a group, a hive mind concept where it's like, okay, this person is going to be the avatar on the call, the guest, and now you all have to work one person in sequence to be able to get the SMART goal out of the person.
Okay.
So now you have to be listening.
Yeah.
And most people are horrible listeners because they just can't wait to speak.
Completely agree. I love that so much. And would you say that that's, because I mean, this is something I've picked up. I feel like because people aren't great listeners and they're like, they've got this script and they're like, right, what's the next thing? Would you say that that's probably one of the biggest things that people get wrong? Is just like not listening well enough? Or?
100%.
Yeah.
Because they're waiting for their turn.
Yeah.
As opposed to, hey, what you said was, and then being able to label the person's emotion around that. And what I said to you on the podcast, right? People are buying based on emotion and justifying with logic. So are you feeling heard, or am I just waiting for my turn to talk?
Yeah.
So that's the critical thinking aspect of just, what did I hear? Okay. Is George being heard right now? Am I getting him? Okay. And then what's the next question that I need to ask? And it doesn't have to be this sequence of, you could have a top 10 list of questions and then knowing which ones am I going to avoid this time?
Yeah.
Based on what you told me. And that's just practice.
It makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot. So would you say that you develop critical thinking through repetition?
I believe so.
Yeah, best way. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you could do go for the concept of the book, Go for No. Get on calls and get, the 500 no's, 1,000 no's, and then you've been beat up and you just hate yourself and you think you suck. And I'm not to say there isn't an aspect of Go for No that makes sense, because you're still going to experience no.
Yeah.
The live aspect of it, though, what it does is time collapses the process. So, okay, oh no, I didn't think about that. Let me try that again. And then trying it again till you do it correctly, or at least improve under the concept of Kaizen.
Yeah.
That you build on those wins and you get better and better. So,
okay,
we all do it. There's different. The four things that you need to achieve mastery are a valid environment. So a safe place to make mistakes. That's the way I call it. It's a safe place to make mistakes. Everybody's gonna screw up, including the people that are teaching it at times. That's fair. Then you need quality repetition, timely feedback. So okay, you made an error, no problem, course correct. And then you need deliberate practice. So deliberate practice for me is not sitting there with the cat or with the dog or the mirror, or not even my wife. No offense to my wife. I want to be with somebody who's a black belt level or better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's incredible. That's really incredible. I love how it's like broken down in that system. So it's easy. I think we work very, very well off of having those unique mechanisms and having those systems. And obviously, you said to me earlier that the best salespeople are the guys and girls that are continually practicing, doing those repetitions and kind of jumping on practice calls with one another.
You think Alex Hormozi, doesn't practice?
Yeah.
He's always practicing.
Wow, that's really cool to hear. I guess it's funny, isn't it? Because if you think about this in terms of like elite level sport, right? Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, Cristiano Ronaldo, non-stop practice, and yet we get into business and it's like, right, I've got it now.
One of my favorite clients was a golfing fan. I won these tickets. I said, his name is John Carter, and John, I'm going to bring you to Whistling Straits, and I'm going to take you to the PGA Championship.
Amazing.
I didn't realize, first of all, the infrastructure involved to be able to record a golf tournament of 18 holes, multiple cameras. I mean, and plus at least 100,000 people were there. It's insanity. So again, we arrived. Tiger Woods is practicing his chipping, and we just in awe of this guy. I'm watching him do the same shot over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So for a good half hour, we go for a walk. We get to our VIP tent that we had, which is great.
Yeah.
We come back, and Tiger is now on the driving range. It's 9:30, and he doesn't tee off until 2.
Wow.
We went and followed Mike Weir. We walked. We came back. It's now 12 o'clock. Tiger's on the putting green. It just was non-stop. And he's practicing. He's not even playing yet. So yeah.
That's incredible. And it's funny you say that actually, because I'm a huge golf fan. I play golf my whole life. I used to play for Surrey at Fifth County.
Oh my god.
I love golf. I love golf. And there was a story that I heard beforehand where Gary Player, he's well retired now, but Gary Player, he was hitting bunker shots, practicing for a tournament. And the owner of the golf club came up to him and said, "Oh, you're Gary Player, you're going to be the best bunker player in the world." He went, "I bet you $50 you can't hold your next shot." He went, "Okay, sure." We hit a shot, rolled up the pin straight in the hole. The guy was like, "Okay, wow, fair enough." He said, "Okay, I bet you $500 you can't do that twice in a row." So he lines up his ball, hits a shot, rolls in straight in the hole. The guy stood there and Mr. Lee thinking, this can't be right. He said, "Right, there's no way you can hold 3 bunker puts in a row." So he steps up, does it. This time it lands past the pin, spins back, goes in the hole. And the guy's just there in misbelief. It's like, how have you done that? He just turns to him and said, "Well, the more I practice, the luckier I get. Everyone's always telling me how lucky I am to do what I do."
Right.
He's like, no one's willing to stand in this bunker for 8 hours a day every single day and hit that shot.
That's totally it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that about the repetitions for sales, because I'll hold my hands up, like, I think I'm good at sales. I'd love to be great. But just from talking to you today, I can't remember the last time I practiced. I can't. That I'll read a script and I'll watch a video and I'll write some notes and I'll tweak some things. But I can't remember the last time I sat on a call with someone else and practiced the thing that I just learned.
And practice, think of it from that perspective, George. doing that would be great.
Yeah.
And doing it with a small group where you can hear other people as well. It's your opportunity to, take it in from someone else's perspective.
Yeah.
It's great. It's fun to do. I love seeing people get better and better and better and better. We've gamified the process.
Yeah.
So you start off, just like in martial arts, you start off as a white belt,
Yeah.
then you get your yellow belt, then you get your orange belt, all the way up to black.
That's incredible.
And then when you get your black belts, you have the opportunity to become a teacher. Because when you want real mastery, because you're a master at what you do right now. And the reason that is because you're teaching others to do what you do.
Yeah.
So when you really get good at something, you want to achieve a level of mastery, you teach it. Charlie's a master at it because he's teaching it, and he's had to improve to get even better now that he's teaching it to others. Because it's like you said, you were saying on the podcast, you have this veil because you don't want to be an imposter. So you're now saying, I've got to step up my game. I've got to get even better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
It's almost like no room for imposter syndrome because, like
Correct.
you say, you have to evolve.
Uh-huh.
And I love how you gamify it in belts because I think it's very easy to say, right, how much money do I make? But it's like, yeah, but there's more to it than that.
Oh, for sure.
Realistically, not everyone's money. I mean, I'm not money driven. I'm massively mission driven. I want to change the whole coaching stage.
Love it.
And I think that with having those belts, I mean, how do you quantify how someone moves up a belt?
So we got different, we have different SOPs.
Okay.
So in small terms, I'll for example, and there's different disciplines. So the discipline of overcoming an objection, that you get your black belt in SOS, the sales objection system. So that's one discipline. You would get a black belt in AIM, so just alignment, inspiration, motivation, and empowerment. So you can get a black belt in that, and then you get a black belt in IMM, which is interactive marketing masteries. So you can, just like mixed martial arts, you can get different belts. In the context of SOS, start off as a white belt. When you master, it's too expensive, can't afford it, need to think about it, yellow belt. When you go from yellow belt to orange belt, well then you got to go the spouse objection. Okay. And you need to be able to get spouse objection mastery. Then the next belt up is the green belt. And the green belt, you need to finish the Army of One course and understand how to do what we call the coaching moment on a call. And so we have different pieces of the puzzle that you get tested in front of everyone. And you cannot buy your way to a black belt. You have to earn it. So some people will get their black belt in 4 months, and some people it'll take them a year and a half.
Yeah. I know something I really love about that's incredibly unique is the fact that because conviction and confidence in sales is so important, someone awarding you and saying, you've now mastered this art, you've now mastered the skill, we've all watched you do it.
Yeah.
Is that, okay, jump on the call and they know that they've got that.
They know. They know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's just practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to say it's just practice. Tony Robbins just recently talked about, and I mentioned this in my latest talk of the 3 C's of big wins in sales, right? Confidence, conviction, and control. The conviction of a Steph Curry to say, I'm going to shoot 500 three-point shots every day. Every day. Okay? When you gave the Gary Player example. That's then what was the numbers? 500 a day. That's 3,500 a week. That's 168,000 a year. In a 15-year career, that's 2.52 million. 2.52 million three-point shots that he did in practice with no one watching to be able to accomplish. He's now the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. I think the number right now is 3,767 game time. That's it. 3,667 game time three-point shots. He did 2.52 million to achieve that. So what's the lesson? What we do in private, we get rewarded in public.
Yeah. I love that. Someone said this to me recently, and it was, you should live your life. Oh, what was it? I think it was something along the lines of, you should live your life as if you're in a giant greenhouse and everyone's watching your every move. Because that is the definition of integrity, right?
It's being able to say, yeah, George, go ahead and have a look at my search history.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people would go, can I delete it? Yeah, no, go ahead, right?
Yeah.
The greenhouse example is awesome.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, the cameras are on now, but imagine the camera is on all the time. If it was on all the time, by the way, people would see me scratching and, it's what is Joe eating? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's why, I turned 30 next year, right? But even now, I can't wait to have my own family. So I feel like all I've ever wanted to do is be the man that would almost be, how do I put this? I mean, I didn't really have a father figure in my life. I didn't really have a male role model.
Okay.
All I've ever wanted to do is just become that person. And I know when I can become that person, I can do that for other people, and kind of sit in that space. That for me is true success.
I have to tell you, you're blowing my mind. You are an old soul, man. When you said I'm not even 30 yet, I just like, oh my god, that you're making a huge impact.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm not blowing sunshine up your ass here, and really from my heart, like
Yeah,
that.
no, I appreciate it.
It's been recorded, so I'm sure the look on my face was like, he's not even 30. Look what he's doing. This is so great.
Thanks, Joe. That means a lot, man.
Oh,
A lot.
that's awesome.
All right, guys. So just wrapping up the video today with John. Doka Street up to 11 Eden. So thank you for John calling for that. Very much appreciated. For those of you that want to connect with you, want to find you, so where can the guys find you?
Come and find me at SOSDOJO on Instagram, at SOSDojo, or you can look me up at SOSDojo.com. It'd be a great place, and be happy to give you. There's a lot of free stuff there that you can take to just follow and consume it and learn from it. I'm here to help you.
Incredible. Appreciate that. And if you're a coach's corner client, I know a lot of them will. Gonna have Joe on for a full, teach you some sales, some new sales. I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you, man.